They're both together.
Oh, okay, great.
When they had finished everything required by the law of the Lord, they returned to Galilee, to their own town of Nazareth. In the time of King Herod, after Jesus was born in Bethlehem of Judea, wise men from the east came to Jerusalem, asking, "Where is the child who has been born the King of the Jews? For we observed his star at its rising, and have come to pay him homage." When King Herod heard this, he was frightened, and all Jerusalem with him. And calling together all the chief priests and scribes of the people, he inquired of them where the Messiah was to be born. They told him, "In Bethlehem of Judea, for it has been written by the prophet, 'And you, Bethlehem, in the land of Judah, are by no means the least among the rulers of Judah. For from you shall come a ruler who is to be the shepherd of the people Israel.'" Then Herod secretly called for the wise men, and learned from them the exact time when the star had appeared. Then he sent them to Bethlehem, saying, "Go and search diligently for the child. For when you have found him, bring me word, so that I may also go and pay him homage." When they had heard the king, they set out, and there ahead of them went the star that they had seen at its rising, until it stopped over the place where the child was. When they saw that the star had stopped, they were overwhelmed with joy. On entering the house, they saw the child with Mary, his mother, and they knelt down and paid him homage. Then, opening their treasures, they offered him gifts of gold, frankincense, and myrrh. And having been warned in a dream not to return to Herod, they left for their own country by another road.
Any here? 271. 313. 271. I am so glad it's Christmas Eve. Oh, that's fine. So we're going to do that.
1, 2, and 5.
1, 2, and 5. There you go. Oh, okay. Come on. Everybody, we're all going to sing verse 1, 2, and 5. 271. I am so glad each Christmas Eve. 271. was just 3 hours away from the temple where he was going to meet his friends. Suddenly his horse stood stock still in the dark before a dark object in the road. The dim starlight revealed the form of a man lying there moaning. Artemis' heart leaped in his throat. How can he stay here to care for a dying stranger? What claim had this unknown fragment of human life upon his compassion or his service? The 3 wise men would go on without him. Should he risk the great reward of his faith for the sake of a single deed of charity? O God of truth and purity, he prayed, direct me in the holy path, the way of wisdom which thou only knowest. Then he dismounted and carried the man to a little mound at the foot of a palm tree. And hour after hour he labored to comfort and help the stranger. At last the man's strength returned. To Artemis he whispered, I have nothing to give you, only this, that I am a Jew. And our prophets have said that the Messiah for whom you seek is not going to be born in Jerusalem, but instead in Bethlehem. May the Lord bring thee in safety to that place, because thou hast had pity upon his sin. It was now well past midnight. The 3 wise men had gone on without pleasure across the desert. Artemis covered his head in despair. I must sell my sapphire. I must buy a train of camels and provisions for the journey. He arrived in Bethlehem 3 days after the 3 wise men had departed, after seeing the Christ child. He entered the open door of a cottage and found a young mother singing her baby to sleep. In her gentle speech, she told him, Joseph of Nazareth took the child Jesus and his mother Mary, and they fled secretly in the night. Suddenly there came the noise of a wild confusion in the streets of the village, and the cry, the soldiers of Herod, they're killing all our children. The young mother's face grew white with terror. She clasped her child to her bosom and crouched in the darkest corner of the room. Artemis went quickly and stood in the doorway. The soldiers came hurrying down the street with bloody hands and dripping swords. The captain of the guard approached, and Artemis said in a low voice, I am all alone in this place, and I am waiting to give this jewel to the prudent captain who will leave me in peace. The captain stretched out his hand and took the ruby. March on, he cried to his men. There's no child here. Artemis turned to the east and prayed, O God of truth, forgive me. 2 of my gifts are now gone. Shall I ever be worthy to see the face of the king? The woman leaping for joy said, Because thou hast saved the life of my little one. May the Lord bless you and keep you. May the Lord make his face to shine upon you and be gracious to you. The Lord lift up his countenance upon you and give you peace. Artemis, the other wise men, traveled from country to country, searching for the king. In all this world of anguish, though he found none to worship, he found many to help. He fed the hungry, and he clothed the naked, and he healed the sick, and he comforted the captive. For 33 years he did this, and now worn and weary and ready to die, but still looking for the king, he came for the last time to Jerusalem. And excitement was splashing through the city's crowd. Have you not heard what's happened? They asked Artemis. Today they are crucifying Jesus of Nazareth, who says he is the King, Son of God, and King of the Jews. Artemis' heart beat unsteadily. I've come in time to offer my pearl in ransom for the king's life, he thought. A group of soldiers came down the street, dragging a girl. She broke suddenly from her tormentors, and she threw herself at Artemis' feet. Save me, she cried. I am to be sold as a slave. Save me. Was this his great opportunity or his last temptation? Twice the gift he had for God had gone to serve man. He took the pearl from his bosom. Never had it seemed so luminous, so radiant. He laid it in the hand of the girl. This is your ransom. It is the last of my treasures that I kept for the king. And while he spoke, a shuddering earthquake rocked the city. The sky grew dark. A heavy tile fell and struck the old man on the temple. The girl bent over him. She heard a voice come through the twilight like music from a distance. The girl turned to see if someone had spoken from a window above them, but she saw no one. And then the old man's lips began to move, as if in answer. He said, Not so, my lord. For when did I see you hungry and feed you, or thirsty and give you something to drink? And when did I see you a stranger and take you in, or naked and clothe you? When did I see you sick or in prison and come to you? 30 years I have looked for you, but I have never seen your face, nor ministered to you, my king. He ceased, and the sweet voice came again. And now the maid heard it, very faintly and far away. But now it seemed as though she understood the words. Very truly I say to you, inasmuch as you have done it unto the least of these, my brethren, you have done it to me. All radiance of joy lighted in the pale face of Artemis, like the first ray of dawn on a snowy mountain peak. One long, last breath of relief exhaled gently from his lips. His journey has now ended. His treasures are now accepted. For Artemis has found a king. Now, the prayers of intercession. And there's some time for other prayers if you have those. So, gracious God, you come from heaven above in the midst of our world. Fill our hearts with joy. You come from heaven above to the lowliness of human condition. Watch over those in need, the sick, the hungry, and the greedy. You come from heaven above to walk the way of the cross. Guide us along your path of forgiveness, mercy, and peace. You come from heaven above to become flesh and live among us. May we see your glory full of grace and truth. Now we have time for other prayer petitions. If we then read each one with, Lord, in your mercy, will all respond. Hear our prayer. So, dear Lord, we thank you for this time of year, for the gathering of friends and family. Many have traveled a long way to get here. We ask that you keep everybody safe on their journey back home again. We thank you for the time we've had together. Lord, in your mercy, hear our prayer. Lord, as we end one year and are about to begin another year, we thank you for 2012. And we look forward to 2013. We have no idea what this year will bring. All we do know is that you will be with us every step of the way. And for that, all we can do is thank you. Lord, be with us all. Lord, in your mercy. Lord, at this time of year, our political leaders seem to be in a lot of conflict. And there are things that need to get done. So we ask you to be with our leaders and show them the way that would be the best for our nation, for all of our people, and guide them in that direction. Lord, in your mercy. Lord, these are just some of the prayers, but there are many more. So at this time we offer prayers either from our heart or we speak them out loud now. Dear Lord, all these prayers and all these petitions we lift up to you, knowing that you